the culture fit and the Martech fit that you have for your team. Like culture fit and culture add for companies, the big part of hiring. Obviously, I think the same thing applies for Martech. A few folks have said this on the show too, that they think that teams are a strong representation of their tech stacks. And like, not to diss the older legacy Martech tools, but a lot of folks I look up to eventually move on to a company that is playing or like purchasing the leading tools, or innovating and trying market leading solutions, as opposed to just like staying with an old school package solution all in one. Like, yeah, there's no AI features on this tool yet, but they have it on the roadmap for 3 or 4 years down the road. And I don't really care about the UI. Like, the UI is okay, even though it's not changed in like 10 years. But I'm curious to ask you, like, how do you think about culture fit when it comes to evaluating tools? Are you looking for something that fits your existing workflows, or one that might be like pushing you to level up and think about things a bit differently?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think when it comes to fit in general and like, I guess, yeah, culture fit as well, I think there's two levels of like fit when I'm assessing. So one is, yes, that culture fit at the organization level. And I do think your tech stack says a lot about your culture as a company. Are you centralized? Are you democratized? Are you flexible? Are you, like how do you operate as a company? How do you think as a company? How do you grow or not grow as a company? And so I do think it's important to ensure that, the tech stack that you're adopting is in line with your values and representative of your brand and how you want to be perceived. And then the second level of fit is how this tech stack fits into, or how this technology fits into the rest of your tech stack and the rest of your ecosystem. I
Hmm.
think that's also a really important evaluation that, oftentimes when we're just like testing and learning or like experimenting with this technology or that technology, we're not as like intentional about that. But when you're actually looking to integrate something into your ecosystem for the long run, you have to think about how it fits in with the rest of your technology. Is it going to, force you to invest in other technology to like, reverse ETL or to like just make sure that everything is connecting? Is it going to like, yeah, force you to have like more of an investment in other technology rather than just like this one technology that you're thinking about? So you have to kind of think about fit at both of those levels, the, company culture fit, and then just your like tech stack ecosystem fit. And so those are, I think, two really important fields. But then one other one that I think often people miss is beyond fit. Does this tool create friction?
Mm.
And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with like when you're assessing your tech stack and how it all fits in and connects into that. But, really thinking about like, will this tool challenge us in the right ways? Will it force us to raise our operating standard? Or is it just going to end up becoming a blocker and something that people don't want to use? And they're like, oh, like we have to like go through this thing and like, fill out this and deal with that. So I think finding that sweet spot of like a tool that respects where you are, but doesn't let you stay there, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
continues to like elevate you and ensures that you're making progress towards the things that you're trying to improve and the problems that you're trying to solve for, but also does it respectfully.
Yeah, yeah, such a good point. I think that's why it's important to have the users, like the end users that are going to be using this tool, as part of the decision making
Yes.
committee. Oftentimes, Martech is lucky enough to be part of that buying committee, and we're deciding, like this new CRM add-on tool that we're adding that our sales team is going to be using. We need to have those salespeople in those conversations and be part of demos and evaluate whether they think this is something they see themselves using. And it's like a trade-off there too, right? Like, there's a whole change management process to things where, at some point you can't always have the salesperson or the end user saying like, no, I don't see myself doing that. Like, my current process is fine. Like, at some point we do need to change if like most people in the room agree that this is the better way of building things or the better way of doing something. And so it's a bit of a trade-off there. But I was thinking of like the devil's advocate on this whole idea that like the team is a strong representation of your tech stack. Because as I was saying that, I was like, shit, like this is true for the teams that are the ones empowered to make decisions about the tech stacks. And I feel like those teams are pretty rare, especially in the companies I've worked at. Like, oftentimes the friggin' senior management team is the one like with the final word on Martech decisions. And they're the last person that's going to be using the tool. They're the last person who is well informed about the future of Martech and what is the right way to do things. But they have an investor on the board who also uses that tool. And you know what? Like, if they're using it, we're going to be using it. And you spend like months and months of research evaluating, and then you're down to two tools. You're advocating for one, and then senior management comes in. They're just like, you know what? We're going to use that one. Like, thanks for all the blood, sweat, and tears you poured into that research. And so I feel like sometimes that's a representation more of leadership, like the tech stack side of things. Cause like you join a company and the person in marketing ops is just like, yeah, I actually hate this tool. And we've tried moving off of it like 7 times and we've been blocked by senior leadership because they're the ones making the call and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that that's unfortunate, but I think, to kind of take back control for, let's say, like a MOPS team or the team that's like directly involved in the tools like daily management, you kind of have to take ownership of providing your leadership with insights on ROI of this tool. And I think that's a step that's often missed. When we think about humans and people, like we at our employees, we have performance goals and we have very like structured performance reviews and like rating structures and all of that. And, there's a systemic way for us to be evaluated on a regular basis and have that feedback shared back with leadership to figure out our game plan. Like, are we staying? Are we going? Are we growing? Are we getting promoted? Whatever that looks like. Are we getting put on a development plan? We don't have that same level of reporting back to leadership when it comes to our tech stack. Oftentimes,
Mm,
I've seen that as a huge gap. And so, I think leadership in general, they talk money. And if you're able to kind of show them that, hey, this is just burning out money. This is causing a lot of tech debt and it's not really providing any incremental value. I think with that kind of backing, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to persuade them in a different direction. But I think the onus is oftentimes it has to be on your marketing operational leaders to provide those insights in a more real-time, regular, consistent way. And eventually they'll get the message.